You're up.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure everyone's met someone with really atrocious writing where you can't even read like the first sentence, and I'm pretty sure like teachers complain about this all the time, especially when they get handwritten essays, like can't read your essay, can't grade it, right? So recently Common Core standards have been initiated into 45 states. These Common Core standards do not require schools to teach cursive writing. Cursive writing has kind of become this like lost art form. Today I want to talk about why Common Core standards should require states to teach students how to cursive write. I'm going to talk about the benefits of cursive writing and the importance of it for the kind of daily life. So the first thing cursive writing really helps is the development of motor skills. So usually when you learn cursive, you learn it about at the age of 7 or 8. So at the age of 7 or 8, you're kind of perfecting the way your hand moves, the way you pay attention to different things. So cursive writing, you have to put a lot of attention into the way you form letters and connect the words. So according to Concordia University, when you cursive write, it stimulates different parts of the brain that aid those developmental motor skills. William Clem, a neuroscience professor at Texas University, states that it activates regions involving thinking, language, and memory. So while you're doing it, you kind of retain more information because of the way you're writing it. The way you write it flows, so it's more likely you'll retain it. It'll be easier for you to memorize it, and then later on kind of look back and remember. According to Psych Today, the University of Indiana conducted a case study on children who didn't learn cursive writing versus children who did, and while they wrote. So after they wrote, I believe it was like an essay prompt, there was a group of kids who didn't write it in cursive and a group of kids that did. They did brain scans. The kids who actually wrote in cursive tended to have more neural activity in their brain, and it was more like adult-like activity, versus the kids who didn't show much signs of that activity than those who did cursive writing. So cursive writing also helps a few people with disabilities. So Deborah Spear, an academic therapist, says that she observed kids with dyslexia who actually wrote in cursive most of their life. They had an easier time differentiating certain letters like B and D when writing and reading. So it was more helpful to them later in life. Concordia University supports this by saying that the ability to differentiate these letters kind of make the kids more successful later in life and being able to communicate with other people. It also helps people with dysgraphia. Dysgraphia is the inability to properly write because of something that's happened to you, like an accident. So those with dysgraphia can write better in cursive because the letters are connected and they flow easier. So instead of lifting off their hand from the paper with the pencil, they flow it, so it's less likely that the writing will be all messy because the letters flow easier. Cursive writing also helps you later in life. It's an important skill to know. So everyone has a signature, right? And usually it's done in cursive, but since children aren't learning cursive anymore, they'll probably more likely write it in printing. Well, most government institutions don't require you to sign a legal document with your name on it. And if you write it in printing, the New York Times says it's more likely to be forged than a signature done in cursive. So it'll kind of help you in like establishing your identity. Those who actually write in cursive kind of show more of a confidence because they typically write neater and nicer than others. So you kind of, when you start out at age 7 and 8, you kind of build the confidence with the way you write and how it looks, so you'll kind of communicate better with others. So cursive writing is also a big part kind of of history. So our kind of the oldest documents of our country, like the Declaration of Independence and Bill of Rights, the original ones, are written in cursive handwriting. It is, you can read it, it'd be reprinted into type letters, so you can read it, but I don't know about you, but it's kind of sad thinking there's some kids that won't be able to read it because they weren't taught the basic letters of cursive. So, imagine a 7 or 8-year-old, they show them the Constitution, the original one, and they're like, well, what does it say? I can't read it because it looks like a whole different language to them. And that's kind of sad for our country that, even the youngest kids in your country can't even understand the history of it. So it also is still being used by certain professors or teachers. I know my English literature teacher wrote all her assignments in cursive. So if you couldn't read it, you had to ask her. And she wrote it down for you to write it down yourself and know yourself what to do. So it's kind of like this barrier of communication or understanding. There's also this big controversy of if you can't read cursive writing, you're less likely to kind of sort of succeed in a workplace that kind of integrates that and the way they write notes to you. So I know at my work, my boss, she grew up only writing in cursive because she went to a private school. So all her notes to us and schedules are written in cursive. Altogether, cursive is a really important skill to learn. There's benefits. The neural activity in your brain helping memory, language. Those with disabilities can write better or read better, and then it's also a part of our history, so kind of connect with it or understand what you're reading.